All right. So let me just share my presentation and get going. Okay. So as part of the conceptual foundations of AI, we looked into several things from AI to machine learning to supervised, unsupervised learning, training data, and many other things. And we finally, stopped at Gen AI. So Gen AI, as I mentioned to you, is something which is very, very common today. Most people, when they talk about AI, they're referring to AI, Gen AI, which is a system which has been trained with a lot of data to generate new content. One important point that I emphasized was, unlike our search engines, unlike our library systems, the conventional library systems, Gen AI is not a system which is just retrieving something from existing collection. It is being generated on the fly based on whatever that we give. Okay. So we know what Gen AI is. We also know the different tools and different platforms that are available. But what next is the question. Okay. But before we proceed further, would again request you to please respond in the chat window. What are the AI tools that you have been using? I mean, I think that will give us some actually insights for us to shape our discussion. If you could kindly, at least mention one or two AI tools that you have been using on a day-to-day basis, and it is helping you in your office productivity, it is helping you with your library information science activities. Any tool that you have been using, if you could kindly mention it in the chat window. So it is Notebook, ChatGPT, DeepSeek, Gemini, Notebook LLM, Perplexity, Research Rabbit, Sizeways, Gemini, ChatGPT, Perplexity again, Claude, Gamma, Notebook. Wonderful. Okay. So thank you for sharing this. Now, rather than looking at AI and specifically Gen AI in general, we now have to move our attention towards AI being useful in library and information science activities, right? So there are some use cases that we need to look into. Just give me 1 minute, please. Yeah, I hope my presentation is visible now.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, okay.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So I was telling you, while we have understood what AI is, what Gen AI is, and you have also been using several Gen AI tools, how can it really help in our day-to-day work related to library information science? Okay. For which, one last input from your side, I would highly appreciate. If you could tell me, what are the pain points that you normally face in your domain, library information science, and you feel that is something that needs to be addressed, and yeah, can it help us is what we need to really look into it. Please mention any pain point, any difficulty that you face on a day-to-day basis, managing a library users, managing a library collections. What are the specific pain points? Stock verification is one. Anything else? Automation. Okay. Circulation. right? Footfall of students, the book return, stock verification. This has been the usual thing mentioned. Yeah, data analysis is what has been mentioned by one of the colleagues here. Opaque system. Okay. All right. So knowing AI is one, but now how do we take it forward to probably address some of the pain points that we may be facing? How can it help us in probably improving our productivity, right? So for many of us, we do not have clarity on the direction, right? We understand AI, we use some tools, but we have no clarity as to how do we proceed further, right? So the state is almost like this, right? We have no clue as to what is the right way to take things actually forward. Okay. So while AI can be used in every aspect of library, in some or the other way to probably improve the efficiency and effectiveness of whatever that you're doing, some of these use cases are very prominent ones, and many libraries across the world have implemented AI to handle these processes. Information retrieval and extraction, also being used for metadata harvesting, used extensively for cataloging, enhancing the search and the discovery mechanism of library collections, and for creating some recommender systems. One of the pain point highlighted by one of the colleague here was about the footfalls to the library, right? The interest being diminished about the library collections and things like that. So many libraries across the world are trying to again leverage on AI to bring in better recommender systems rather than presenting to the library users only the conventional opaque systems, conventional just the basic search and discovery systems. They have implemented recommender systems. It is trying to anticipate, it is trying to understand the needs and wants of the users and trying to handhold them, trying to give them specific recommendations. They're coming and searching is one part, right? But based on their needs, based on their wants, there has been a push mechanism where the library resources are recommended to users. And this has really helped in improving the efficiency and effectiveness of library services. Okay. So we can use AI to look into, to enhance any of these activities. As I said, information retrieval, metadata harvesting, cataloging, and things like that. We'll get into some of these things as we progress in our discussion. But what will be the enabler for it, right? The immediate accessible enabler is Gen AI to us, right? AI, as I told you, is not only Gen AI. There are a lot of other things in AI. What are the other things? You have something known as agentic AI. You have agentic workflows that can be created. We need to understand that and see how we can use that. To begin with, something that we already know is Gen AI, right? How can we use Gen AI to help us in our day-to-day activities related to any of these activities? Information retrieval, metadata harvesting, cataloging, or something like that is what we need to understand. So Gen AI, before the break, we in fact looked into this definition, and we understood that it is something that has been trained to generate content, which can be text, images, music, code, and many other things. So typically the capabilities that we're expecting from any Gen AI tool is that, okay, it can do creative writing, it can do data analysis that some of you mentioned as the pain point, summarizing it, translation, creation of images. It can do all these things. But to get this done in a more, I would say, optimized way, understanding what goes behind the scenes, what really works, what does not work, what are its capabilities, what it has been designed not to do, right? Understanding that would really help. For example, before I talk about those details about AI, let me also talk about, say, a search engine. All of us, I'm sure, are comfortable searching information on Google or specialized search engines like Google Scholar. So any information requirement we have, we can simply go, type in some keywords and get the information. All of us, end of the day, we may get the information. But the amount of time and efforts that each one of us would have invested may be different. I hope you'll agree with me, right? Some may get the same result in no time, right? But others may get the same information after several clicks and they spend a lot of time. So what is important is understanding how search engines work, understanding what are the specific parameters that the search engine algorithms look at, right? And once we understand that, we are able to communicate in a much better way, communicate our requirements in a much better way, and get better results. Again, just to support this example, when you talk about phrase search, I'm sure you're all aware of it being in the same domain. So let me demonstrate it straight away rather than just talking about it. Imagine you wanted to get information about, say, supervised learning, which I just mentioned some time back. This is what we usually do, right? Uh, is there a situation where Google has ever told you that it does not have sufficient results, or no, it does not have any results? I'm sure it's not. Most of the time, it's the other way around, right? We get a lot of results. So just focus on this part. You look at the number of results that we have got here. Right? And now one small technique which I mentioned, phrase search, which many of us already know because being part of this domain, we know it makes a big difference. You see the number of results significantly reduced. Exactly like this AI systems, this Gen AI systems also have specific techniques. If we get familiar with those techniques, probably we'll become better and powerful users of Gen AI tools. So understanding its limitations, understanding what parameters it looks at, how it works, really helps us to communicate with it in a better way, right? So getting back to that discussion here. So what makes ChatGPT or Claude and Gemini kind of tools to generate content, right? So what is behind the scene? The most crucial thing is the LLM, the large language model. And there are different LLMs, large language models, right? Each of the tools that we use would have employed a different LLM. Okay. You talk about Gemini, it may use a particular this thing. You talk about, Claude from Anthropic, they use a particular algorithm, right? You talk about Meta, they use something like Llama, right? You have Mr. Leia. Likewise, the different LLMs. Okay. So I'm again pausing here for a minute just to ensure that we are on the same page. We are now heading towards understanding how we can use AI in our day-to-day work to enhance our productivity. Right? So as people from library and information science domain, how can we address some of our pain points with help of AI? You have listed certain pain points. You have also listed certain tools that you use, right? So we are now looking at some specific tools which can help us address some of those pain points that you have addressed. To do that, the first and the most easy thing to take up is LLM. I'm sorry, Gen AI tools, because all of us know what Gen AI is, right? With again an emphasis that Gen AI is not the only AI available. AI means a lot of other things, which we will discuss as we progress. We are starting with Gen AI. But when we talk about Gen AI, most important thing to understand is, which LLM is powering that Gen AI tool. Because these algorithms are focused on, sometimes specific domains have been trained in a particular way, right? Being cognizant of these things will make you better users of Gen AI tools. Just like with search engines, the search engine techniques helped us to become powerful users, right? So understanding the working of this algorithms, understanding the parameters that are crucial to generate this content, etc., will make us better and powerful users of Gen AI. So that's the argument that I'm trying to present here. Okay, so any AI tool that you take up, right? You mentioned about Claude, you mentioned about ChatGPT, you mentioned about Gemini, etc., right? They are one category of tools. They are standalone tools in the sense there is some LLM which is working behind the scene, and it has been designed only to generate specific type of content. It could be image, video, audio, and things like that. You also have another category of AI tools which are called as integrated Gen AI tools. Okay, when I say integrated Gen AI tools, one example, right, from whatever that you have already mentioned in the chat window would be something like Notebook LLM, right? Or it could be, a specific tool used for cataloging, right? So there, it's a AI tool, right? Of course, there is LLM, but it has been integrated with some other system. Okay, so probably your scholarly database has now been integrated with one particular Gen AI tool. So that's one part of the story. The other one is what they are standalone tools. So you have standalone or you have integrated Gen AI tools. When you're using any of these tools, either standalone or integrated tools, the most crucial thing to understand is, what are the gaps and limitations? And these gaps and limitations come from which algorithm is powering it and what is the knowledge base which is powering it. I repeat, I told you that all AI tools that we use, specifically all Gen AI tools that we use, is powered by some LLM, large language model, right? Whether it's a standalone tool or whether it's an integrated tool, there is some LLM working behind the scenes. So when you're using it, first thing to understand is what are the gaps and what are the limitations. And these gaps, as I told you, comes from two things: which algorithm is powering it and what is its knowledge base. Okay, so we keep talking about one particular problem with AI, right? About hallucination, right? How does it really come? It's again because of its knowledge base. It's again because of its algorithm. Okay, so let me straight away get into some demonstration here. I'm sure it's visible, but I'm just rechecking if my browser is visible to you. The chat GPT window that I've opened, is it visible?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Sure.
Yes, sir.
So we are trying to understand the limitations, right? What it cannot do, or why is that in some cases it hallucinates and things like that. Okay. If not with us, particularly the student community, they generally feel that AI can do everything. Gen AI can generate any type of content, and whatever it generates is, taken, used, consumed without really analyzing for its correctness, without understanding the sources from where this information has been taken, without validating whether it has been checked for any factual mistakes and things like that. Okay, so why does that happen, right? These mistakes, these errors, etc., primarily because of the knowledge base. Remember, in the first session we talked about all AI systems. When the machine learning happens, we need to give training data. So this also is a AI system. This also is going through machine learning process. It also requires training data. So what is the training data that has been exposed to this, right? And is it updated? Is it something which is live? Is something that we need to know. Okay, for which let me simply give this prompt here. I'm just asking ChatGPT to tell me what is its knowledge cutoff. Look at this. It says the facts that have changed after 2024 is quite subjective. See here, it says my knowledge cutoff is June 2024. So that means the algorithm was trained with data which is updated up to June 2024. Anything that has happened after June 2024 may not be directly be part of its knowledge base. So imagine if we now go and look for current trends, we look for the current affairs, or from a library perspective, you're looking for latest editions, or the recent books which have been published related to a particular domain, etc. How can we expect ChatGPT and other tools to give us the right information? Because its knowledge cutoff is limited to June 2024, right? And remember, I told you it's not having access to recent information directly. Okay, for a long time, uh, these systems like ChatGPT were only dependent on its knowledge base. Today, things have changed, right? They also are connected to the web. In case they don't find anything from its knowledge base, they can also reach out to the web and give it to you, right? But again, my point here is that these systems fundamentally do not have access to recent information directly. So when it does not have information directly, had it been a search engine, and when you search something, if it is not available, what is it designed to do? It will simply return an error or simply give you information that it does not have the results. But ChatGPT and other tools have been designed not to say no when it does not have any answers. And what do I say by this point, right? I told you about hallucination. Let me give you another example here. So I will just ask ChatGPT again, what is your, by the way, in the algorithm, that is large language model algorithm, we set one parameter called hallucination temperature, which decides on the degree of hallucination. What is hallucination? Making up things. When it does not have the real information, it cannot generate real information. It makes up things, it hallucinates. So every GenAI tool has been designed to hallucinate. The degree of hallucination may vary, right? But we can't expect GenAI tool to tell us that it does not have answers. Like a search engine, it will never say that it does not have answers. It will make up things. And that is where taking into cognizance the knowledge cutoff and hallucination temperature becomes crucial before you use any AI tool for productive environment, before you implement it for your a specific task of your library, before you're using it for some scholarly activity, being cognizant, being aware of these two things becomes important. Okay, knowledge cutoff, it says June 2024. What is your hallucination temperature? I've tried this in the past. They don't give that answer very precisely. They don't give that answer explicitly, but you can just see the response here. It says I don't have a user visible. That means that information is not visible to user, right? But it definitely is part of the algorithm. If you mean temperature in the language model sense, that's a sampling parameter control how random varied outputs can be. right? You can see this, right? So there is an element of hallucination which is part of the algorithm. Okay, so these are the first limitations which I wanted to highlight. So now, when there are so many tools, when there are so many platforms, AI platforms, right? Which one should we pick up for a particular task? Okay. Two parameters to look at, we have already seen. We need to first look into its knowledge cutoff, look into its hallucination. And most of these platforms and algorithms, they try to project themselves as generic tools, but they are still, I would say, good with particular domains. They may be good at doing some specific things. Okay, so looking into their breadth and depth of knowledge gives us better actually clarity, right? Look at some benchmark information that we have here, benchmark information that we have here. When you talk about chat gpt, its strength happens to be reasoning, writing, coding and things like that, right? But it may not be great when you talk about when you use it with long documents. On the other hand, when you talk about Claude is much better trained to handle long documents, and it has been trained for thoughtful writing. Likewise, when you talk about perplexity has been designed keeping in mind scholarly research. Many of the results that we get from ChatGPT, Claude, and other things, we may not get the citations, we may not get the the references. But Perplexity, because it has been designed keeping in mind research in mind, they normally give you results with proper citations. Okay, so this again is another aspect that we need to look into. And you can also see best for specific activities, right? So if you talk about Copilot, another tool, it is part of Microsoft ecosystem. When you want to do any intelligent activity within Excel, PowerPoint, Copilot may be definitely better than some of the other actually platforms that you see here, right? When you want to use this for literature review, Perplexity may be a better tool compared to some of the other ones, right? And when you want, to work on reports, better analysis, etc., Claude may be definitely better than ChatGPT, right? So this kind of general understanding also would help us. Any questions?
No, sir.
Okay. So I hope I'm making sense.
Yes, sir.
Okay, all right.
Yes, sir.
So
Yes, sir.
what can AI do well and what it cannot do well, right? So when you talk about what it can do well, it is good at creating, coding, classifying, being a critic, comparing, calculation, being a coach, collaborating with the users, particularly brainstorming and things like that, it can do well. Okay. So if you have to create some marketing campaigns, it may be good. If you have to, use this for classifying emails, you want this to use for you want to use this for some financial analysis, it may be good, etc., right? But what it cannot really do well because of its limitation is it cannot guarantee factual accuracy. And I've already told you why is this crucial, because of its hallucination. Okay. It cannot replace human judgment. Okay. There have been several issues and cases reported about the bias with which the responses have been generated by AI systems, the bias with which some of these AI systems have acted on, right? It has been reported from recruitment that it was biased towards men, right? And when they got into the diagnosis of this issue, they found that the data was not sufficiently trained for recruiting female candidates. So there was a bias. So the system had learned well to understand the profiles of men. So obviously, when the female applicant's data goes to it, it was not in a position to really assess that well. Okay, so it does not have confidential data. It cannot predict future. It cannot accept accountability. I mean, all these things are self-explanatory. In the interest of time, I'll actually proceed further. So by looking at these limitations, right, one important thing to understand is when you are using any of these tools, be it autonomous tools, that independent tools or integrated tools, right? What we do with it is we give prompts, right? It's a conversational AI. We are communicating with it. We are not just giving keywords, right? It could be like a conversation. We give a question, right? We give a comment and ask it to respond to it, etc. So the future belongs not to those who know the answers, but to those who know to ask the better questions, is what is being said by a lot of management gurus today, particularly among students, right? Just knowing things is not what is important. Knowing the right questions, I mean, that questioning ability is what is becoming very, very crucial. Okay. So with AI tools, this is the most crucial capability, asking the right questions. Just to put in some, I would say, context and to give you a specific example, if you just go and type this phrase, write about Porter's five forces model, will ChatGPT or Gemini does not give us answers? Yes, of course it will, right? But it will just give you like some data, right? So the purpose of probably knowing about Porter's five forces model was probably to analyze a particular company, a particular industry, etc. So instead of having this kind of, I would say, a shallow prompt, right? Giving a more meaningful prompt will give you better results, right? So here you can see another actually prompt which has given us better results. It's like you're a McKinsey consultant preparing for a board presentation for Tata Motors. Analyze the Indian EV market using Porter's five forces model, present assumption, risk, and managerial implication. This definitely gives us actually better results. I'm sure your experience also has been the same, that when we give more finer details and when we give specific expectations, Gen AI tools have responded better. So is there a particular framework? Is there any best practice that we can look at when we are using any of these actually tools, right? Broadly, we need to understand that the use of this AI tools also has evolved over a period of time. Initially, it just acted like a search engine. You just feed in some words, feed in some questions, you're getting some actually answers, right? And then they said, okay, it's not just to retrieve something, it can also generate something which is not actually present. Further, it went ahead and became more like a reasoning partner. It's not just generating something. We are passing the responsibility back to the tool to probably analyze it, right? And understand the particular situation and then give it actually insights. The next level is industry has already started using this as a decision support system, right? And to a great extent also have started using it as a co-intelligence actually system. They are collaborating with the AI system, right? So it's not just for getting information, not just for generating images, not just to probably do some analysis, etc. For some real applications, mission critical activities also it is being leveraged, right? So to begin with, if at all you want to get better responses from your prompts, right? Understanding, these four important elements of a prompt is very, very crucial, right? Prompts, if has been anchored with a role, I repeat, prompt, if it has been anchored with the role, that means it has been assigned with the role and has been, enriched with the context and has been, triggered with a particular action, right? Then it can do wonders, right? Instead of just asking it to generate something, if you assign a specific role, give the sufficient details about the context and very clearly indicate what is the action that you expect from it. And because it is generative, it is going to generate some content. In what format do you want, right? That if you convey, you'll get definitely better results. This 4 dimensions that I told you has been, given as a framework, has been given as a model called craft model, right? I'd like to just spend a few minutes on this, and then we'll proceed further with other actually aspects. Okay. Craft model, as you can notice, it is about the context, the role, the action, the format, and the tone. Okay. Any prompt that you give in any platform, any tool that you use, besides knowing its hallucination temperature, besides knowing its knowledge cutoff, right? Ensure that first you give the context clearly. Like in this case, right? The context was very clear, right? That it is the requirement there is about a board presentation. That was the context, right? For Tata Motors. And then we also have the role. What role should it play? So we are saying you should play like a McKinsey consultant. Right? And then what is the action? The action here is to actually analyze the EV market using Porter's 5 forces model. And then finally, the outcome that comes, right, in what format do you want, right? When I say format, I'm not just talking about the file format. It is in terms of how the data needs to be presented, right? Should it be like a report? Should it be like a presentation? Or should it be like a brief note? Should it be like a, in-depth research report, etc.? Those things need to be specified very clearly. So craft model, in fact, like this, there are many other models, many other frameworks which have been devised and is being advocated by people who are teaching prompt engineering. Right? I just took up one, and a widely used one. It's called craft model: context, role, action, format, and tone. Right? These are the 5 things which makes a big difference in the kind of responses that you get from any ChatGPT or any other. Not ChatGPT, any other GenAI tool. Okay, would like to again pause here, just for you to reflect on what we discussed so far. Anything that's not making sense, anything that you want to add to what we have discussed, please feel free. Either in the chat window or you want to speak, you can do that. Okay. So what we learned was that in AI, there are so many capabilities. One such capability is generative AI capability. So there are several platforms, tools available, and these tools, either they are present, as a independent tool, and in some cases they are integrated with other actually platforms. In both the cases, when you want to use this, not just for exploration, not just for getting some basic information, but you want to use this for your organization, critical task, right? To address your pain points, to probably improve your productivity, to probably enhance the efficiency of whatever that you're doing. Keeping in mind the limitations becomes very, very important. I've already mentioned about 2 limitations. I've told you that Gen AI tools have been designed to hallucinate. So it is by design that they hallucinate. So when does it come into picture? When does hallucination come into picture? When it does not have sufficient knowledge to respond. Right? It tries to make up things, hallucination. Okay. So what determines that is the knowledge cutoff and the hallucination temperature. And then when you use the prompts that you give to ensure that you get better results using some of these techniques, some of these best practices, some of these frameworks definitely is going to be useful. One such, I would say, framework is craft model. Okay. So what are the other limitations then? So now imagine a library of a prominent university which is having a huge collection, okay, both, I would say, digital form and in non-digital form. Digital form, of course, is being accessible directly through your library websites, and non-digital ones, at least the metadata and other thing is available through your opaque systems. But when they would like to use AI to enhance the usability, to give, I would say, the end users better facilities, right? How can they do this, right? They may bring in some AI tool on top of your probably a library website. Okay, so it becomes more like a conversational platform rather than the end user learning the specific techniques to search a library website, understanding the practical nuances of your opaque system. You want that to become like a free chatbot, right? So people just come in, type in their free queries, just type in their requirements, right? They may say, I am researching on this particular topic, I would like to know what are the highly cited papers related to this available in your collection, and also what may be the suitable books that I can borrow from the library related to this particular domain. When such a thing happens, right, I hope the context is clear. We are adding a top layer to your library services, which is AI layer. And the purpose of adding AI layer is to give convenience to the end users, make it more user friendly, right? So that they can just simply type in a prompt and get the results. When they give this prompt, being a AI system, obviously, there can be an element of hallucination, right? When will it hallucinate? When will it give you wrong results? It may simply say there is a book related to so and so topic. But when somebody clicks on it, they find that such a book is not available in the library. Right? It may give reference to a particular article. It might also show some citations and things like that. But when they actually go to the actual source, they may find that such a thing is not available. Why? This has simply been hallucinated. Okay. When will it hallucinate? When it does not have sufficient knowledge. That means your collection, if it is not having this information, it is simply trying to hallucinate. Okay. So how do we address this? Right? So whatever the end user is searching, if it is not already available in your collection, but is available in some of your other sources, probably it is available through your other subscriptions that you have taken, is available on internet, for example, right? So instead of giving wrong results, you want the results of AI to get improved, right? By going beyond its knowledge base. This is achieved with help of what we call it as RAG. I repeat, it is achieved with help of RAG. Uh, Kindly understand the requirement for RAG. Understanding what is RAG is, of course, important, but understanding why is it used is all the more important, right? So your AI systems, because of its knowledge base, because of its hallucination temperature, can hallucinate. When it does not have the right results, it can hallucinate. So when you implement any AI-based interfaces to your library services, there are chances that it can hallucinate. Okay. So how do you reduce this? Instead of giving wrong results, instead of giving hallucinated results, instead of just limiting to whatever is there in your knowledge base, you want it to reach out to other sources. That is where we implement something known as RAG. What is RAG? RAG is retrieval, augmentation, and generation. Retrieval, augmentation, and generation. Retrieval, augmented, generation, in other words, right? So when a user poses a question or a prompt, the RAG system first searches the external knowledge base for relevant information, right? And this retrieved information is then added to the user prompt, effectively providing large language model with better context and up-to-date facts. And LLM then, generates the content and gives the response to the user. This definitely would be giving you more updated, more, I would say, reliable information than, giving you some hallucinated actually results. So RAG as a architecture, involves some technicalities, right? So I'm not saying it's like a tool that you can just plug it and use it. But the whole idea of mentioning about RAG because the objective of this particular session was to give conceptual foundation, right? To give a direction for you, the practicing librarians, to take this forward. Some of you have already implemented, others who may do this in the future, right? You'll definitely take help of some technology partners, right? But knowing that RAG is important to give better results to the users is crucial. That's why I just mentioned to you, right? So I hope you're able to connect the dots, right? So your usual AI tools works like prompting agents. You simply give a prompt, it'll generate some response and give it to you. And when it does not having information, it can hallucinate. How do you reduce that hallucination, right? With help of what we call it as RAG. Okay. What do we do in RAG? Your AI systems are interfaced with other knowledge systems that you may have in your organization. It could even be, say, internet. Okay. When a user searches for that information, instead of only limiting it to its knowledge base, it now has better context, it has better information and can give you better actually results. Okay, so this is one aspect. Now, there may be a need to automate. That was one of the pain point given initially during the discussion, right? Automate specific elements of your library activities, specific processes of your library activities, right? How do we do that? Okay, so for process automation, of course, we need to bring some model. And when I say model, I'm talking about, some LLM, right? Large language model, right? You have to choose the right language model which can fit into your scheme of things, right? And these models, as you know, are built using, this data and all the details, etc. So I'll just run through a simple use case now, right? In case we have to build a chatbot, right, to become more like a library assistant, what will be the approach and how do we go about with it? Okay. So from simple Gen AI to now we are getting into automating task, right? So to automate task, right, we may use some ready technological tools. There are some AI chatbots available. End of this session, I'll also be sharing some of those actually resources in case you're interested to take it actually forward. Say you want to implement a chatbot. How will a chatbot work? Your library website will have a chatbot. Okay, it will become more like a conversational assistant. Right? People can simply come, give their requirements, and chatbot will guide them. Right, telling that that particular information is available probably in the library, but you need to come to library to pick up that particular book, or it's available in a digital collection. You can access it from this. It's available in digital form, but it is something which is accessible only based on subscription. So you need to subscribe to it. So these kind of conversations can happen without human intervention, without me and you getting into the picture. This chatbot can do this task. So to do this, what exactly should we do? How do we go about with it? Okay. This is where another aspect of AI comes into picture. Right from the beginning, ladies and gentlemen, I have been emphasizing on one point that though for many of us, Gen AI and AI is synonymous. We think AI is only tools like ChatGPT, right? It is wrong because AI is much more than that. AI has undergone significant advancements. Okay, a lot of things have been added to it. One of the most recent and the most significant development in that space is what we call it as agentic AI. Okay, so what exactly is this agentic AI, and when will agentic AI come into picture? When you want to develop something like a library assistant, right? That is where agentic AI may come into picture, right? Two things that we already know, which may be employed here, is one is we understand generally how Gen AI works. We also understand the need for something known as RAG. Okay, Gen AI based on the prompt can generate responses. RAG can give better context, can make it more up to date, right? And with that, another element we are adding is what we call it as agentic AI. So what exactly is agentic AI? Okay. So agentic AI is a AI system that can make decisions and take actions on its own to achieve a goal without being told exactly what to do at every step. I repeat, it's a system that can make decisions, take actions, right? Own to achieve a goal without being told exactly what to do at every step. How is it different from Gen AI? Okay. Gen AI behave in a reactive way. You give a prompt, it will generate some content. Agentic AI is not reactive, it is proactive. It is goal based. Okay. You assign a particular goal to it, right? So it will perceive the situation, decide, execute, and with every action, it keeps learning to improve its actually operations. That is basically agentic AI. Okay. So Gen AI just displays some content, I mean, generates and displays some contents. RAG will enhance that generation. But here we are talking about a system where it is not expecting any prompt from us, right? It understands what you want, right? It can decide, it can execute and keep learning on its own, etc. Right? So this is actually agentic AI. So how do we implement that? Coming back to this use case, the library assistant use case. So first thing is your existing library collections. Okay. For it to be used by the CI system, it needs to be made machine friendly, of course, right? If it is already digital form, it's fine, right? If not, it needs to be digitized. And once it is machine friendly, once it is machine interpretable, right, then you add a top layer to it. The top layer to that digital collection would be a AI system. What is that AI system? In this case, it could simply be a chatbot. Chatbot would be a software. There are ready tools available. You simply have to purchase that particular tool. In fact, it is fairly easy to integrate. Many of you will be able to do it yourself. The vendor will handhold you to do that. If not, you will have to take support of the IT teams in your organizations, right? Once you integrate that chatbot, right, the entire collection that you have is now accessible to this particular chatbot. So any end user, when they come and ask for a particular question, okay, what is it doing? It's not straight away going and retrieving something from your database. First thing that comes into picture is RAG, right? With RAG, what it will do is it will first try and understand the context better. What do you mean by context better? It is first trying to understand what was the previous question the user asked, right? So again, the example could be apple as a fruit, apple as a company. For it to understand, it will look at what were the previous queries. Okay, so it will understand what is that the user was searching for, what is that the user was browsing on the website, right? So it knows that context, and with that it will also connect to other sources, right? Internet and other sources that you have. It will have a better view of what the user wants. Now it will submit this to your database as a query, retrieve it, and present it in whatever format that the user actually wants. Okay, so why do we require agentic system here? You may be wondering, right? It is to reduce the human intervention. Okay, so I'll now give you one more example as to how this library assistant will work. See, if it is a conventional, I would say just a Gen AI system, the prompt would be give me information about this particular topic. That information is available in your library. It will go there, pick up that information, generate it, and then just display. And when such information is not available in your library, now RAG, what is RAG? It has access to other actually sources, say including internet. That information that the user wants is not available in your database, but it is available on internet. So it will try to combine both of them, give you actually better results. That's the role of RAG. But what exactly is agentic here? Now, you want a machine here to act independently, right, as an agent without human intervention. What does that mean? The end user searches for this information, that he wants information about a particular topic, what may be the books available in the library, and can he go ahead and borrow that from the library. Okay, so is that available or not also is the information that he wants. So what are you doing there? RAG, I told you, was connecting to other sources, right? In this case, you're also integrating it with your library automation system. With that library automation system being connected, now the user, right, gets the complete solution without human intervention. He has searched for a particular book, he has searched for a particular information. Your result says that there is a book available in the library, and it also now shows the status whether the book is available, right, whether the person can borrow the book or not, right. If it has already been issued, probably he can place a request. So it is trying to connect all these things together. Okay, so this is how you can create actually workflow, agentic workflows. And in case any of you are interested in exploring this in very, very simple way, right, without human intervention, without going with the sophisticated chatbots and things like that, you still want to improve this. Let me tell you, there are simple platforms that you can explore. One such platform is this. Give me 1 minute. This is one such platform called N8N. Okay. You can easily create AI agents and workflows and automate your task. Right? What may be the task? Let me present with some other use case now. Say, on a regular basis, you go to certain websites, scrape data, you harvest some data from it, right? And then you probably clean that data, and then you feed this into your database, right? This is something that you're doing on your own. There were three different activities that you have done, right? So with this kind of a platform, you can simply ask the system to do this task for you, right? You can say at what interval you want to visit that particular website, and whatever you search, you can specify that requirement, right? And then once it searches the website, whatever data that has been scraped, that has been harvested, right, how do you want to clean it, how do you want to store it, in what format do you want to store it? Say you want to store it in, say, Excel, right? And once it is in Excel, you normally do some sort of cleaning. You probably look at some duplicates, you remove some noise in it, etc. That also can be specified. And at a particular stage, you want this to be fed into your database, actually, right? That also can be given, right? So to do all these things, I know many of you may be wondering that what is being said is a complicated thing. It might involve coding, programming, and things like that. But the good news is it does not require any coding, right? Everything would be like, plug and play platforms, right? Definitely when you try this yourself, N8N, see, first of all, with the limited time that we have, and because it's not like face-to-face interaction where I can show you some hands-on, make you work on it, I have to just give you some basic overview and give you some direction, right? But any of you, when you explore this, you want some support, you want to reach out to me, I'll be more than happy to actually help you. You can definitely try this N8 platform where you can go and create agents. Agent would be, you'll create one agent which is going and extracting data. You're creating another agent which is probably cleaning this data. You're creating another agent which is updating this to your database. And then it becomes actually like autopilot mode. right? You just have to say when this should get executed, at what frequency you want this to get executed. You want this on a daily basis, weekly basis, monthly basis, it can do all these things. Okay, so coding would be only when you want some advanced tweaks, you want some advanced customization in this workflow. Otherwise, everything would be without actually code. We are now living in a low code, no code kind of a world, right? So all these things can be done without any coding. So any of you with basic understanding of information technology will be able to actually handle this. But these tools, again, they are all commercial tools. So some of the free services that they give is with some limitations, right? So the basic things that I told you, you can still continue doing it with this free tool. But once it becomes probably a major process in your library, major process in your organization, and you want this to be implemented on a larger scale, you may have to upgrade to the paid actually version. Okay, but the idea is very, very simple, right? AI today is not just about generating some image and generating some text, right? It is about automating your operations, right? And to do this automation, as I told you, Gen AI definitely comes into picture, right? But it's not only Gen AI. There are other things like RAG, other things like agentic AI systems, etc. Right? So when I say Gen AI also comes into picture, let me just extrapolate this example that I told you. End user comes to your website. He searches for a particular information, right? And your website has presented some information, has also mentioned that there is a book available, right? But it is currently already issued. It's not something that he can collect from the library at the moment. Okay, but at a later stage, once the book has been returned, okay, you want this end user to know that the book is available. Okay, so many of these things, some of this library automation tools themselves take care, but this AI can make it more personalized, can make it more actually efficient. You know how the same workflow that we have created, right? There can also be a trigger where the moment the book has been returned, you want an email to be composed, right? And sent to the end user automatically. You can do that. You can simply have a template of your email with the to address with that user who has searched for the book which he has searched. That can also be part of the template, right? And then what happens is your system will automatically send an email to them telling that, look, the book that you were searching for is back in library. You can come and actually collect it now, right? That is the kind of control, that is the kind of, I would say, efficiency that you can bring into the library services that we actually offer to users today. Okay. I would like to again pause here because, as I told you, I have no clue whether what I'm saying is making sense to you. If you have any questions, anything that you want to add, right? So that's why in an online mode, I generally stop after every 15-20 minutes to get a feel of the participants, right? And to know your perspectives also. If there is anything that you want to share, anything that you want to ask, please go ahead. I have some more other things to tell you. I will say this after you speak and then we'll conclude. Okay,
Excuse me,
there's one
sir.
question. Any tool for classification and cataloging? Okay, I will just mention that. Anything else?
Excuse me, sir.
Yes, ma'am.
Sir, is there any friendly tool, AI tool for stock verification work, sir? Because we, the librarians, are facing stock verification issues every year. That's why, sir,
Okay.
I'm asking. Thank you,
Okay,
sir.
ma'am, got it. But if you can tell me, what is the specific pain point in stock? See, there are tools, of course, but much of the work in stock verification is manual, right? You still have to verify the books. If your pain point is about probably reconciliation, it's about probably updating this information back, etc. That tools are available, and these tools that I told you, some of them are paid, so you can even simulate that with your regular chat GPT or Claude using the proper actually prompt. So what is the actual pain point when you say stock verification?
Because in government trusted college we are collecting data from faculty, sir. So we
Right.
have to organize it, reorganize it. We have to remove duplicates. We have to
Okay.
find missing books. Likewise, sir.
Okay.
Every year issue, sir. This is
So again, as I told you, this will not really always require agents. You can also do part of it with help of your regular Gen AI tools, provided you have put that prompt appropriately, right? If reconciliation is a problem, if data, the cleaning, and probably preparation of that stock report is a problem, right? You can make help of, I mean, you can take help of this Gen AI tools, give this context very clearly, give specifically what is that is expected from it. And you also mentioned that do not hallucinate, uh, you know, uh, work like a senior librarian working for a particular university library. That's the role that you can actually assign, and it can give you better results. Okay. There are some tools. I'll talk about it. I'm just trying to understand if there is any other concern or any other question. Any tools for overdue reminder, AI and peaceful life or system environment tool for classification, this thing. Yeah, this is a very general one, and I do not I mean, I'm referring to this question. What is your view on AI and peaceful life or a system environment? uh, I don't have a very short and ready answer because it might sound a little philosophical. So probably if required we can take it offline. But other questions definitely I would like to address. You have been asking for specific tools for overdue reminder and things like that. Okay. Stock verification automation. All right. So let me now come to the last part of our discussion and present to you some tools which may be handy for your day-to-day work. Okay. Okay. Let me jump to some specific tool here. Okay. I'm sure you have all used Perplexity or ChatGPT, Claude, and things like that. But was curious to know if you have also tried this Open Read. If not, excellent tool. It can see. Please understand this AI tools. When you look at its utility, it can serve in three ways. Right. One is at an individual level. At an individual level, you want to probably for your research, probably for your learning of things, you want to use it. The second level is probably to enhance your office productivity, right? As a practicing librarian, right? As a researcher, how do I leverage on AI? Third one is how my organization can actually use AI. What we have discussed conceptually has covered, from a broader perspective. AI, RAG, agentic AI, etc., is from an organization's perspective, right? But at an individual level, right? You as librarians, you as I tell you, researchers, how do we use these tools? It can be for many tasks such as identifying research domains, discovering trending research topics. It could be for literature review, it could be for research design and methodology, it could be for instrument development questionnaire, this thing, it could be for data collection, it could be for data analysis and visualization, writing and reference management, it could be for plagiarism check, AI generated content checks, right? Also identifying the right journal for targeting, right? And also kind of simulating the peer review process as a researcher, as a librarian. Some of these things you may do, right? Likewise, to improve your day-to-day productivity, probably for data analysis, right? All the data that you have about your books, about the usage of your library resources, right? Or it could be the metadata that you have, right? So for cleaning, analyzing, you want to use. So there are specific tools, right? And then for classification or for clustering, or in library terminology, you want this for cataloging purpose, there are actually tools. But please keep in mind something that I've been repeatedly telling you. There are two categories of tools. There are some generic tools like ChatGPT, Claude, and things like that, and there are some specialized tools. Specialized tools, some of them are free, some of them are paid. If you still want to do what this paid tools can do, to a great extent, you can do it with proper prompting with your ChatGPT and things like that. Okay. So, for example, when it comes to identifying a research domain or doing some literature review, there are ready tools available. Tools like, for example, one second, tools like your Perplexity, for example, or Skype, right, can give you a lot of actually insights, can help you in your research work. But if you don't have access to it, some of these things you can still get this done with your the basic tools like ChatGPT and Claude, provided you give that right prompt. And when I say right prompt, remember that framework that I told you, actually giving that context, right, giving that outcome, etc., becomes very, very crucial. Okay. So coming to the tools, the first tool, as I told you, is Open Read, right? This Open Read or Open Read, whatever you want to call it as, right, is an excellent tool to, you can see the capabilities of it. Fresh paper every 5 minutes being added to it from 20,000 plus journals. So it's always up to date, always reliable for your own information, and probably to enhance your library collection. And when you have to support a particular library user to your library user about any specific informational needs that he has, this can be a great actually tool. Likewise, look at this. I did mention about that AI chatbots that you can create for your library websites, right? This is one tool. I hope you are able to see the name of the tool. It's Botsonic.
Botsonic.
Botsonic, yeah. So this might be useful. It can just get added to your library website. What you have to do is only, specify the knowledge sources. You need to connect the knowledge sources. Do you want your library collection to be accessible to this tool? And do you want this only at the metadata level, or do you want the full text to be available? Do you want a RAG to be implemented? RAG, I told you, to give better context. That configuration, if you do, you can easily bring in a chat system into your library website. Okay. There are other tools, right? The materials which you are adding to your collection. It could be probably the faculty generated reports, or it could be the student generated some project reports, etc. So of course you can look at other plagiarism tools like Turnitin and Dilbert, etc. You also have better tools available to check AI generation. Okay, one such tool is this Copyscape. Right? So you can search for copies of your content on the web. In case there are copies, if it has been taken and it has been partially generated with AI, this can be a good actually tool. Most of this library service providers have also brought in a lot of new elements into their offerings, which are AI powered ones, right? You can notice this. OCLC has introduced AI powered cataloging tools. Somebody was asking about a cataloging tool, right? So this is an integrated tool. It's a specialized tool, right? So instead of having it as a separate tool, it's being added as a feature to existing tools that you normally use. OCLC has introduced this. Okay. This is another tool, right? Wherein you can evaluate your collections and things like that. This again is an interesting tool. Again, in the interest of time, I'm not, reading out, or describing the details of these tools. You can kindly make a note of it and see if it can really, help you in whatever that you're doing and whether it really fits into your scheme of things or not, right? You also have another tool where you can generate a book, and this is not just to hallucinate, generate content. Sometimes it is to probably present your content in a better way, right? The AI book generator is not just to always just get an idea and generate some content, but it can help you in structuring your ideas, right? So you are probably planning to come up with some manual for your library, right? You are planning to come up with some reports related to your library for accreditation related requirements and things like that. Even in that case, this tool can be a great help, right? Because it will ask for your specific requirements, and then it will try and extrapolate based on its knowledge base that it has and give you a clear direction as to how you could actually proceed further with it. Okay. So apart from that, I had also listed many other tools which can be useful for your day-to-day activities. You can look at this. Demonstrating each of this will take time because many of them requires authentication. You need to log in, right? And then explore those tools. So that's why I'm just giving this as an additional information. And if you're interested, you can definitely try these tools and see if it can help you in your day-to-day work, right? Purista.ca. I hope they are clear enough for you to make a note of it.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay. There are hundreds of tools. What I presented is just a sample, and I trust some of these tools are already known to many of you. Right? Okay. Finally, before we close, just wanted to show you another tool, particularly because at least 2-3 of you in the chat box have mentioned about some tools for analyzing data, right? It could be about your stock data, it could be about other this thing. How do you quickly analyze and things like that? So let me just present one tool. Yeah. The name of the tool is Julius. This can straightaway take data in Excel format if you want, a CSV format if you want, and then can do a great level of analysis based on the requirements that you spell out in your prompt. Okay, you can see this. You can see the sample prompts that are available here. Model the growth of semiconductor, run a regression to forecast next quarter trends. I mean, it can go to that level. Okay, you just need to plug in the data and it can do this for you. All this will be done and presented to you in a black box approach, in the sense without the finer mathematical nitty-gritties, without the finer details of the algorithm being used, etc. It can simply do this analysis, right? But if you want to use this for your research, explainability of this is also important. So you need to give in your prompt to describe each of these phases, each of the steps that it has performed, etc., so that you can appropriately build a narration out of it. Okay, because probably in your methodology, many times you are expected to give these actually details. So that is one approach of using it. The other approach is, say you want to clean the data, right? You have gathered a lot of data about the different libraries, and you want to explore some, I would say, the loan facility there, right? Or it could be about the metadata collection that you have. You wanted to actually thoroughly clean this data, look for duplicates, look for incomplete records, look for inconsistencies, etc. Those things can be clearly mentioned in the prompt here. Okay, and also make sure that in your prompt you also explicitly mention some of these things that do not hallucinate, right? And then ensure that you refer to this particular standard, right? Act as this particular actually person, etc. Then you get actually better results. I don't have any ready data set which I can analyze here, because I have some, but they are proprietary ones which I cannot present it in a public forum like this. So we can also try this with some sort of data which can be generated by a tool like ChatGPT itself. So let me try this. Okay.
Excuse me, sir.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes,
We are
sir.
closing at
Time is
3:15.
10, sir.
1:15. Yeah.
Yes.
1:15 is when we are closing, right?
Okay, sir.
Okay, sure. I'll stop right away. After this prompt, I'll just stop. And if there are any questions, I'd like to take that. Assume that you're a senior librarian associated with a prominent library. Okay. It may not be the best prompt, but I'm just trying to ask ChatGPT to generate some synthetic data for building a dashboard related to library, even before I start using the real data. So you can also get a synthesized data from ChatGPT, and that you can probably plug it into the other tool and look at this actually. So I have the full data with me now. So just an idea to come up with a better reporting system with KPIs, key performance indicators, in terms of probably the books that are highly subscribed, the books that are, least borrowed, right? You want that kind of a dashboard. You will prepare this based on a real data. But before that, probably you wanted some sample data to explore what kind of report you can generate, etc. So I've just done that here. You look at this. It has generated this entire data with me now, right? Book ID, title, author, everything. So this is just a sample data. So such data can be analyzed with Julius, which is going to be very, very useful. Okay, so would like to know if you have any questions. Otherwise, I would like to just sum up and close.
Sir,